Hello again. So I believe it's about 20 past 7 or something. Still in York. Changed location. We had to stop earlier on because it was literally pouring and no one was stopping. We were concerned about the laptop, the TV screens getting wet. The batteries were undercover and started to smoke because of the heat being on and under the cover. So we've moved into the Christmas market area, and as you can see, there's one of those stupid hi Butnaru, hi Ash. There's one of those bloody stupid trees that's all lit up. It's still raining, not as heavy as it was earlier. Hi Helen, hi Gino. Still raining. There's not as many of us as there were earlier. Hello again, Kerry Jane. And we're in a slightly more condensed area, but we've had some more conversations. Hi Naomi, hi Michael. And we're continuing to have conversations with people. Hopefully we will be here till 9 o'clock. The weather isn't going to deter us in any way. While we were having a break, some of us were talking about a status that's posted in the AV Leeds group a couple of days ago, where they're talking about a cube that's being discussed on the sort of like chat groups for AV, and
what do you think about this then?
Although the dates haven't been confirmed yet, anyone who is watching, the talk is that there's going to be a 168-hour non-stop cube next July in New York City. So look out for notifications. I'm sure that there's many, hi Emma, there's many people who will, from the UK want to go and be part of that. So it's advance notice to start looking for the notifications that it will be hopefully will take place. Hi Anthony. And so that you can start making preparations for a week-long cube in New York next year. It was discussed after the march at the 24-hour cube in Berlin this June. So it is something that's already been under discussion and idea. So I just wanted to mention that while I'm stood here filming this 12-hour cube in York, and here's the York organizer again, Ash. Leeds, but she's here in York. But yes, all of the Yorkshire organisers are responsible for creating the 12-hour events. So Ash, I want to, we spoke the first thing this morning. Yeah. We're getting towards the back end of the event now.
Yeah, the best end, I've got to say.
Yeah. How do you think that the day has gone so far?
So far, it has been a mix. We've had our lows. The weather completely knocked us out earlier. We had to take about an hour out. We've had quiet periods, but then we've had really busy periods as well, where we can see people around like they're having, we talked about earlier, didn't we, really emotional reactions to the footage.
Yeah.
A lot of really interesting conversations going on. And me personally, since we set up here and it's more confined and it's more relevant to what's going on next to us, I've already had more really, really good conversations than I've had all day.
Yeah.
So for me, this, like I said, is the best part. And everybody I'm talking to so far, the conversations are just going absolutely amazing.
So, in a way, that weather break forced us to reconsider, because
I was just going to say that.
Because, when I arrived here earlier and then I had to go in to register at the hostel that I'm staying, I had to come down here, and I was amazed even then, you know, during the day, how busy it was here, and the relatively low footfall where we were outside the Minster. So, you know, by coming here, there's a good thing. Now, while I'm talking, I've been saying to people, because obviously, you know, it's going out live.
Hello, everybody.
That I noticed in the AV Leeds group, there was a post the other day about New York next July, and so letting people know that it's going to happen, and because Paul Bashir mentioned it at the end of the speech in Berlin,
in everyone's chat to you.
and you know, and that was in June in Berlin after the 24-hour one. So I just want to ask you, because we were talking about it in Humpits, you know, and already people are saying, I'm up for it. What about you? Would you go to New York for it?
Okay, my honest opinion, I would absolutely love to go.
And I
wouldn't want to be a part of that.
I'm wondering whether you're going to say, but what about Ben?
But what about Ben? Yes. So the first thing is, I've got a dog at home who I know would be so well looked after. I know that. I have my mother and sister who don't own him. They walk him all the time when I'm at work. I just still don't like being apart from him. And the second thing is, I am a bit too sensible sometimes. The eco damage on my head from flying to and from America for an event that we could hold here every day. Like, I could just get a bus to an event here and do one here, because it is planned for July, and I do know that we have a 12-hour in Essex in July. So
in Southend.
And there is also supposed to be a march somewhere, maybe London, to close down slaughterhouses, which I think is the same week as the Q, which is probably, knowing our look, going to be the same week as New York City. For me, I would only want to go for the event. I'm not interested in seeing America.
Oh yeah,
I'm not interested in New York City. I hate cities. It's crowded. It's not normally my thing, but I love AV. I love what we do. And I'd love to be a part of that, to say I've done my bit. I'm doing my bit.
That's my point. Yeah. I think because
so I'm torn. So far, I'm on a yes.
Yeah. Having been to Berlin and seeing 3,619 people say they would seriously consider veganism in a 24-hour period. If you multiply that by 7, we're looking at minimum 20,000 conversions in a week. There will be way more people. It will be one of the biggest animal rights events on the planet ever. And while I understand your concerns, the Ben, you know, to all of that,
when you look at the bigger picture, I know he's going to be happy. I do an awful lot for the environment as well. Sometimes
I think sometimes being part of an event like that, we're going to make history.
We already are.
And this is my point. You know, we have to sometimes look beyond that, because, as you said, whether we go or not, those planes are going.
Yeah. That's what my mother said to me, and she doesn't even care about the environment, but she said the same. She said,
"Hi, Mark.
Work your arse off." Hi, whoever that was. You work your arse off all the time.
Yeah.
You want to go there for the sake of one flight, just go.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And
this
you
mentioned dedication. That's another shout out for today as well. We could have easily just cancelled it when the rain started pouring down. The organisers got together. Fred, who's amazing with the TVs, provides the TVs for us all the time. We got together and we decided, like, do we call it quits? We didn't want to. We took a break and we've come straight back out. We don't want to quit this. We want to keep going.
I mean, that was my point when we were talking about it. I said we had to look at it. We had to look at it from a logistical point of view and a logical sense. Was there any point in standing there in the pouring rain when nobody was stopping? You know, the batteries were being wasted. The TVs were going to get damaged. Can't afford that. The fact that the outreachers are standing there not doing anything. So we're all stood there doing nothing, serving no purpose. But right now, we've had a little bit of a break, and we're all really energised up again about it. And
we're not going to give up.
Because we're not going to give up, and it's that thing that you said, and you realise that there are people that have travelled from different parts of the country again to be here.
They've come from Norwich, it's taken them 5 hours to get here. You've come from Sussex, you know, we've got people, I've got a friend from Czech here as well, so, you know.
And that's the point. You know, and this is my point. So it goes back to the event next year. I think every AV activist.
If we all got together, if
that's the point.
Start saving now. If we did go together and we did ignore the eco part just for one trip.
Yeah.
If we all came together and we're talking 10, 20, 30,000 people doing a queue.
I know. Exactly. Seriously.
There's no way they could hide that on the news.
And that's the thing that I was saying.
Yeah,
that's the thing that I was saying in when we were having our break, was that this is something that the mainstream media would have to cover because it would be so big. Yeah. You cannot ignore something that big.
Our 12-hour last time, so the previous 12-hour we were at together, somebody came and reported on it and said there were about 10 vegans, nobody was interested. Complete lie. We had about 40 or 50 people and 475 people were really interested. So where the media, when they can get away with it, they do try.
Yeah.
But there is no escaping that. There is no escaping at all.
I mean, that's something that I find really interesting, is that when people talk about, oh yeah, you know, the media needs to be covering it. And I say, look, we are the media.
I was going to say, we can't rely on them.
No.
We've got to do it ourselves.
Well, what are we doing now?
Yeah,
this
exactly.
is the media, this is social media. We've got to use, we have to use this for what we want to do. Don't let them...
from being out on the street.
Precisely, and that's the point. Really so, look, I know that you want to get back and have some more conversations.
How do you know?
Well, I can just see it. But no, I needed you. I needed you to have this sort of conversation, so that, because this is really important, that people actually hear these sort of things.
Of course, and if you're not a part of this already, but you are vegan, you should be a part of this.
Exactly.
If you're vegan, that means ethically you care about what's happening. You don't like what's happening to these animals.
Yeah, I mean,
therefore you have a moral obligation to come out here and change it.
It's interesting that Mark Little is one of my friends.
Hi, Mark.
in the States. Like me, he's also an advocate for resource-based economy.
We love you.
And he's just said, we have the tools. We are the media. So it is up to us. We want to change the world. It's up to us, and we've got to help each other do this. So we have to empower each other, and by doing this, we're going to help that change by sharing videos like this, so people can see it, they can hear real, genuine conversations about real issues that affect us all, whether we're the human animal, whether they're the human animal or the other animals that we're speaking up for, or the environment that we all depend on. Together we will make this happen.
We're already making a difference.
And we are already making a difference.
We are already making a difference.
Hey, I just want to give you a...
vegan 2 years ago, 7% now. You wait till next year.
Hi Tim. I just want to give you a big hug before you go. So I've just gone off screen and had a big hug with Ash, so thank you. Hi Linda. Right, yeah, so I'm glad I had that conversation with Ash. She is a seriously dedicated activist, especially on AV, and I'm just going to have a little word here with Tati Bo, and you can turn your head away. Tati Bo is the organizer for Whitby and Scarborough. So, what time did you get here today, Tati?
About 8:20 this morning.
So you were actually here for the briefing beforehand, and what's your views on how the day's gone?
It started off a bit slow. It's picked up about 11 o'clock. I think the location here is probably a bit better than over there. I think sometimes location can have a big impact on whether people stop or not.
Yeah.
And the location there, I think we're wise to move here. The rain came for a reason.
That rain did it actually served as a purpose, and because as I said to you, when I came back from registering at the hostel, the amount of people here was jam packed. We weren't here at that time, but if we had been, the amount of conversations that we would have had then was phenomenal. But we weren't. We were where we were. We had good conversations. We're here now. We'll make the last couple of hours really positive and have some really good conversations and hopefully end up with the sort of total that we were looking for.
I'm confident. Well, any number's a good number.
Yeah.
Your books are the more better.
Obviously. But thank you for speaking. Yes, Mark, as Jacques Fresco said, if you don't believe we can change the world, it just means you're not one of those people that will.
Yeah, it's cool. It's cool. That guy going away crying is going to try vegan 22. Going away crying. Yeah, seriously.
Do you want to tell me what happened? First off, introduce who you are, where you're from.
I'm
where you're from,
Leeds.
Nigel. Hi, Claire. Hi, Linda. So, tell me, how did the conversation start?
He was just stood there looking at some of the things, so I went up and started talking to him. Just asked him the usual questions, have you seen this sort of thing before? He had actually seen things like that before. He's actually a builder and his labourer is vegan, so he knew most of the things, so there was very little education. Then we started talking about his health and he's got high blood pressure. We started talking about, he said he loves eggs, so I reminded him what eggs were. And again, he got it. So there was very little actual information I had to give him. So then when I gave him the card with the vegan 22 and said, watch those videos, it was like pushing on an open door, to be honest. His wife's a little bit drunk, but she's tried being a vegetarian and she's gone away thinking about it as well. So I genuinely think that both of them will do the challenge.
So
they want to wait till after Christmas because they want to have the turkey, which is, it's bad, but I don't know.
So what was it that caused him to cry? Because if you've said that he knows all about this.
Because he knew it, and I sort of pointed out to him that he already knew it and that he knew what he needed to do. Not a little bit for the animals, but more for his own health, to be honest. You know, it was so. I think we touched a nerve. I genuinely think we touched a nerve.
Hi, Linda.
I think people are genuinely compassionate, and just seeing footage like this, it just brings out the best in people. I don't know what else to say, really. You know,
I mean, I often have these sort of discussions with people.
Yeah.
And, you know, when I look around on a daily basis and I see what people are doing,
yeah,
it is very soul-destroying. And
for us as vegans.
For us as vegans.
Yeah.
But forgetting that, I mean, for the animals.
Oh, gosh,
when you actually consider how we feel when we observe what we do on a daily basis, that's how we feel.
Yeah.
How must the animals feel? I had an argument. I think it was an online argument that I was having with someone the other day.
Yeah.
And I think it was about a post that I'd put where it was an ask hole. And what's an ask hole? Well, an ask hole is someone who asks you why you become vegan, and then when you give them the reasons why, they all get all defensive about it.
Yeah.
And someone took offence at it, didn't realise the full meaning, and I ended up putting, you know, we can argue all we want about this. We can have a battle of semantics.
Yeah.
The animals couldn't give a fuck about our sensitivities.
Yeah, exactly.
Our weak, pathetic sensitivities over words. All they want is for us to stop doing what we're doing.
So, when you're doing outreach like this, and because I've been working today, I've not been here that long, but a lot of people have been here all day, and you're cold, and you get hungry, and you get wet, and you get miserable sometimes. But when you compare that, I don't even use the word suffering, but when you compare that discomfort to the actual suffering that the animals have, it's like, who gives a shit? You know, you might be a bit cold or a bit wet, or when you walk through a supermarket, you might see the butchered animals, and that might upset you and cause you a bit of dystopia. But compared to the suffering that the animals are going through, it's like, you know, our discomfort, our mental torture like you just said, the animals can give a fuck. They just want to live. They just want everyone to stop fucking eating them.
Yeah, well, not just eating them, but exploiting them.
In any way,
You know, stop using them. I mean, this was one of the things, because as you said, you didn't get here till later on, and when we were outside the Minster.
Yeah, I saw you live.
Hi, David. One of the things that I was saying is because I live down south, but I've lived in the northeast and I've lived in the north. When people were going on about how cold and that it was, I actually made a joke about it. I reversed this southern softie thing. I said, you fucking weak northern softies. Because as you pointed out, we can do something about this. The animals go through much worse every moment, every day, until some human decides to end their life for something that we don't need. And that's the point. And so, as you said, it's like we've got to overcome the indoctrination that we were taught from birth, that we need to use animals, that there's nothing that we can do to change this. When you realise that that guy and his wife, they're going to go away and they're going to change, then why? Because they already know it, but you've reignited that thing, and they're going to go away.
Needed there. It was just almost like pushing at an open door, just making people. It's the cognitive dissonance, isn't it? And I think that's why he was crying, because the cognitive dissonance had fallen away, and suddenly his perception was. It's like the Matrix, suddenly he saw he was in the Matrix.
Yeah, I mean, I want to read you something from someone who's a friend in the States, and he's just written this. We must remember people are conditioned with a particular sense of values, normally derived via the culture they were raised to uphold and support. The struggle is trying to engage in intelligent dialogue, bypass moralistic grandstanding, and just address facts. Again, it's just something stated by Jacques Fresco, you don't speak for approval, you speak to educate and inform. And that's basically it. And anyone that, hears the way that I do outreach, that's exactly what I do. I don't care whether people like what I'm saying. I'm here to educate and inform.
If you don't like me or don't like you, who gives a shit?
Exactly. I couldn't give a fuck whether you like me or not. I don't give a fuck one way or the other, because there's nothing I can do about that. I'm here to help people learn and overcome those that cultural indoctrination that Mark has just explained.
I think.
Hi, Emma.
In
Hi,
the
Stephanie.
vegan movement,
Hi, Karen.
Just the same as any movement, I guess. There's politics, there's internal politics, there's tittle-tattle, there's backbiting and all that sort of thing. And I've always said, if I'm free and I'm available, I'm going to do activism. Even if I'm doing it with 10 people who I can't personally stand. I might not engage with them, I might not talk to them, I might not say hi to them, but I'll stand there, I'll do whatever the outreach is for the animals.
That's the point.
If they hate me and they don't want me to be there, fuck them. I'm not there for them. I'm not there to win personality contests. I've done outreach with people that I know hate me, and I'm not too fond of them, to be frank. Who gives a shit? Who gives a shit?
This is something that I talk about again when I'm talking with other activists. It doesn't matter whether you get on with someone or not. You're doing that. You're there for the activism. You shouldn't be going to an event because someone well-known's going, or you shouldn't not be going, or you shouldn't not go because someone's going, because you're there for the reason. If you don't get on with someone, avoid them. It's easy enough.
But it's always surprising, isn't it, when you get...
Hi, Maria.
When you get Earthling Ed or Joey Carbstrong or people like that going to a save, suddenly what's normally half a dozen people suddenly turns into 50 people. Hey, because Earthling Ed's going to be there tomorrow. It's like, why? It's not... Okay, people like that are charismatic and they do a lot for the movement in spreading the word, and they're really great on social media, and they're really great when they're on TV and that sort of thing. But just going to an event, just to... Oh, it's great to meet them, don't get me wrong, but just going to an event, just because Ed's there, just because Joey's there.
You see, this is one of the reasons why I don't say that I'm going to an event, I'll
no
put
one would
interested.
go, would they?
Well, no, exactly, exactly.
resist that
Because no one would go. They'd say, "Oh, that fucking cunt's there. I'm not going." But it's the point. I don't want people to go to an event because I'm going, or I don't want people not to go to an event because I'm going. They should be going for the reason that we're all there for. It's for the animals, and you go there to inform and educate. If people don't like me, as I said, don't give a fuck. You know, I can avoid you, you can avoid me. But I don't want people, because I've had people coming up to me and say, "Oh, you know, make all sorts of complimentary things, and can I have my photo taken with you?" No, you can't. One, I don't like having my photo taken. I'm not here for that. I'm here purely to do a job of work.
Exactly.
That's what we're here for.
I couldn't agree with you more.
So, you know...
I'm agreeing with you way too much here, Michael.
I know.
Something wrong.
You know, because I remember the first time we met, we had such a fucking big disagreement on politics and so much.
So what?
But that's the point.
Politics, who gives a shit?
But the point here is...
I'm not, fine.
But the point here is that we're actually agreeing about this particular perspective that we're here.
Period. And I don't think I've ever seen you post anything or say anything about animals that I've disagreed with. Because you say it as it is.
Everything I say on post is because I say it as it is. I'm not. You see, I'm as passionate about all of that as I am about what I'm doing. Because
you're right about veganism.
And I'm right about the other stuff as well. But it's just because I've been. I research into all of that as much as anything else.
In all seriousness, I do value, when I read things that you've posted, because I know that you do your research and I know that you're a clever guy, I do listen to it and take it in. Whether I agree with it or not is a different matter. I know it's well researched, if nothing else.
Yeah, that's the point, you know. Otherwise, because I'm not going to post and say things to people if it's just made up bullshit, because you can actually go and research it yourself.
You get found out.
Because then I get found out.
Yeah, exactly.
And therefore I would lose all credibility for everything that I do. So, it's been good to have this conversation, Nigel. Thank you very much, and get on and have some more conversations, and let's hope you help get someone else to think about it. Thank you, Nigel. Okay, so let's see if I can join in on someone else who's up for having a conversation. Yeah, let's have a chat with these two guys. Would you like to introduce yourself, where you're from? And
yeah, I'm Ryan and I'm from Chesterfield, so a bit of a journey today.
You're from?
Chesterfield.
Okay, so that's sort of like South York, North Derbyshire, isn't it?
North Derbyshire, South Yorkshire.
Yeah. So, and what time did you have to set off to get here?
We left at work this morning, but I left about, about 1:30 this afternoon.
Okay.
Got here for about 3 o'clock, so I've been here since.
Okay. And you are?
Connor.
And where have you come from, Connor?
From York.
Oh, you're actually from, so you're local. You've been here all day?
Since 1 o'clock, I think.
Okay.
Yeah.
I stayed in London overnight because I live on the Sussex coast, and I got a train at just after 8 o'clock that got me into York at 10 this morning. So I've been here since about 10:30. So how do you think today's gone since you've been here?
It's been pretty productive actually. It's my first Cuban truth I've actually been to.
Okay.
I wanted to come and just basically get an insight. I've seen these out there all over social media, so I just wanted to come and see and just see what it's all about. And I'm new to activism, so I want to just basically learn. And
so when did you actually start activism?
well, this is my first Cuban.
Oh, so you've done no activism before
I want
this?
to get involved a bit more. I've got a few people that I know that have been involved, so I just wanted to come with my partner and join in and show.
So have you shadowed outreaches to hear?
Yeah, I've been in the queue a couple of times today.
Because being in the cube is a good way to actually hear conversations.
You'd be surprised actually how many conversations you can pick up, and some of the bypass as well. They're actually walking past and actually not wanting to look at the footage and things like that, but they're holding a hot dog in their hand and things like that.
And so, tell me from the perspective of being in the cube, what you observed by being in there. Obviously, there's the conversations, but the bypasses.
Yeah, it's quite eye-opening really to see so many people not wanting to see what's happening everywhere across the UK, basically.
And how did that make you feel? As this is your first ever activism.
It's a difficult one, really. How did it make me feel? It's quite frustrating, I suppose, that people want to hide from the truth. It might make them a little bit more curious to what's happening. But like I said, someone just said they can't watch it. But
It's interesting you saying that it's quite frustrating.
yeah,
Because the more that you do this, you're going to get more
Yeah,
frustrated.
I imagine so.
I can assure you, because it's an unfortunate consequence of doing what we're doing. We're showing people an uncomfortable truth, and they know that what's being shown is a truth, and they find that really difficult to take, because it would force them to actually think about the consequences of what they're doing. And because of our cultural indoctrination, we find it difficult to want to change, to think about changing, what might happen to us if we do change. Yet from the moment that we were born, we were constantly changing. When we were kids, we loved the idea of change. We got bored with doing the same thing. So as you said, hopefully it will make people think a little bit more. And I applaud you, obviously, for coming and doing your first event here and whatever. And hopefully you'll be a real success at all the other activism that you do. So now I want to go back to you and your views on how today's gone. And
Yeah, it's gone good, isn't it?
and how long have you been doing activism?
Yeah, no.
Okay.
Yeah, man.
And did that start with a cube or with other stuff?
I started with animal save.
With that, okay, cool, with the save movement.
In Manchester.
Okay. Oh, so was that? So you went over to Manchester to do it? Okay. Was that Manchester Animal Save?
Yeah, the tulips one,
Okay. Yeah.
the pigs and that, so.
Yeah. So, do you want to tell people a little bit about that aspect of their activism?
Yeah, I think it helps more to do this kind of thing if you've actually seen it yourself firsthand. So I think actually going down to the actual slaughterhouse themselves, and then when someone says to you, have you actually been to these places before? And you can say, yeah, I have actually, and then you can show them footage of what goes on and stuff. So yeah, I think it kind of supplements this quite well. So I'd say probably do one of the saves first and then do this. Then you can speak with a bit more conviction on what you're actually saying, because you know what actually goes on. So I think that's probably the best thing to start with.
Okay.
Yeah.
I mean, I remember when I began doing activism, which coincided with when I became vegan, pretty much, and I went to events in London. I'd travel up to London, I travelled to London from Sussex, the Sussex coast, and do it. It was maybe a static demo, like close all the slaughterhouses, got involved with other events, and then gradually started doing more outreach-based events. And I remember going to Ramsgate to a live exports demo, which in a way is no different than the save.
Yeah.
It's just the animals are going onto a ship, they're going abroad, they're going to go into the same thing.
Yeah, exactly.
And it's that feeling of hopelessness.
Yeah. That's it's hard to do, isn't it? Because that's like there's literally nothing you can do, and you're watching truck after truck after truck going in. I think as well, like anytime I ever go and I put it on social media, I always get at least one person kind of saying.
One person what?
At least one person kind of saying that helped me go vegan or vegetarian or give up meat.
Okay.
So I think doing one of those kind of helps quite well, because then you get a lot of people sharing it as well. So
yeah, I mean, actually, this is one of the things that by doing these live feeds, I mean, I don't like to brag about it, but I know I'm good at outreach.
Yeah.
And I could be doing this. But over this year, since the 24-hour cube in Berlin, I've been doing live feeds at events, because I think it's quite important that I chronicle people like yourself talking about why you're here, and then people sharing these videos so they get seen by people thousands and thousands of people.
People never want to stumble upon it as well. So.
Yeah, and that's the point. Every time someone shares one of these videos, they get introduced to real people stood out doing real stuff and having to deal with these real issues. So, and the way that they approach it. So thank you for taking the time and speaking on this, and all the best with all of your activism.
Thank you.
Thank you. Hello. no, doesn't want to. No, shyness has taken over. So let's have a wander around and let's have a chat and see if the young lady in front of me is going to introduce herself, where she's from and how long she's been here today, and her opinion on how the day's gone.
Kirsty, I'm from Leeds. I've been in York since about 8:30 this morning.
So you've been here all day?
Yes.
You were here like some of the others for the briefing before it started.
Yeah.
And your views on how the day's gone?
Same as most outreach we do, it's a mixed bag. People are very supportive, very receptive. The people are very abusive, they think it's funny. So, same as always.
Can I ask you, because I know, depending on the mood that I'm in at that exact moment, sometimes when I hear the stupidity, I just let it go. But there's times when I can't, and I react, and I want them to know. How do you feel, and what do you feel inside you when you get someone laughing and mocking and reacting in such a way? How do you deal with that?
Like you just said, it depends on my mood at the time. Sometimes I can brush it off. It always makes me feel angry, but it's what I do with that anger that changes. Sometimes I'll respond to the person, sometimes I'll let them walk away and not say anything.
So it is all depends down on how you feel at that particular time.
Feeling is always the same, that of anger and utter despair. It's what I do with that feeling that can change.
I mean, the reason that I ask sort of sometimes what might seem off the wall type of questions is that for anyone that is watching and for people that see this because these videos get shared, is I want other people to understand how we feel and that they might be feeling pretty similar. And so if they do, they don't feel as though there's something wrong with them and that they should hold that in. That if they feel that they want to say something, then fucking say it.
Anger is a completely normal human emotion.
Yeah.
It's just what you do with it that can cause problems. If your anger turns into violence towards people or animals, that's a bad thing. If your anger motivates you and keeps you going, that's a good thing.
I share with people, I can't remember the exact words, but there's a quote that deals with anger. And it's we're afraid of anger.
Yeah.
We're afraid of it, like we're afraid of deep obsession and overt eroticism. We find it deep, dirty and dark. However,
tells you anger is bad.
Yeah, that it's bad and that we should. Yeah, anger. If you really think about it, the deep anger is a sign of care and compassion and love. Because if you don't get angry, you don't give a fuck. So yeah, I understand very well how you feel. It's how you use that. If you can make someone feel that what they've just said was really uncalled for, was stupid, they didn't think before they opened their mouth, perhaps your anger towards them might get into their head and it might cause them to feel angry about it and wonder, why am I angry? Oh, because of what they said, and it might cause them to think about what they've said. So again, I'm really pleased that we've had this little bit of a conversation, because I think this is as equally relevant as anything else we do, so people understand this and we shouldn't be afraid of it. Far too many people think that getting angry is a bad thing and that it's confrontational and that confrontation leads to violence. Well, what we're doing is confrontational. We're confronting our own actions. Everything, to change the world and what we do in it, we have to confront what we've done, what others are doing. So we're never ever going to get away from confrontation. It's, as you said, what do we do? How do we deal with it? And how do we get others to understand that they are caught up in something that's not good for them either?
I think as a movement we need to get better at understanding the emotions that we go through. It's hard to do what we do, it's hard to go out there. Every day or every week or every month and be confronted with those things that make you angry. I struggle at queues because even though I try not to look at it, I see repeated animal violence and it makes me feel sick to the core and it affects me deeply. And I've seen these clips hundreds of times.
I was going to say you're a veteran at Cube, aren't you?
Not really, no. I've only been doing it since March.
That's a veteran in my eyes because it's only been going for 2 years in the UK. So in terms of, because there was a guy I was just speaking to who's come from Chesterfield today, and this is his first ever activism. So, you know, and if you've been doing it in Yorkshire, you know, because it only started in London 2 years ago.
They just had their second birthday.
Yeah, and they were second birthday last weekend. You know, I was part of that first ever one. And that's why I come and support all of these events wherever, because I think it's really important. But also, I want to ask you one other question before I let you get back onto the. You know about the planned 168-hour Cube in New York. What would you consider going and doing it?
I've already looked at flights.
So the answer obviously is yes, because it's going to be historic.
It's the city that never sleeps.
But it's also what's going to come from it, you know, and
people can see people like us for 12 hours on a cold, wet winter's day. I was saying this to somebody earlier, 3 years ago I wasn't a vegan, I was a vegetarian or a pescatarian sometimes. And if somebody would have said to me, in 3 years' time you will be in the middle of York for between 8 and 9 at night, trying to make a change in the world and freezing, I would have laughed at them and said I would never do that. So you've just got to keep showing people, keep showing your family, your friends, the world that we're not going to go away. But I feel really emotional saying that we're not going to go away, and we are going to do everything we can to make this stop. Thanks.
Do you know what? I am so glad you have said that, because I say this frequently when I'm talking to people that I'm explaining animal exploitation to, hi Amber, or other activists. If someone had said to me 20 years ago that I'm not going to be watching television, that I won't be going to football, that I'll have quit alcohol, nicotine, cannabis use, serious use, that I would be painting on televisions, that I would have written poems, that I would have travelled, that I will be an activist for a world without government, a world without money, and that I would be vegan, and that I would be on the streets as an activist for that, animal rights, plus what I've also just said, I'd have just said, you're fucking nuts. But what I liked was that bit where you actually said, we're not going to go away, and we're going to keep showing them, and we're going to keep showing them. I'm involved with something known as the Movement for Indefinite Life Extension also, and there's a woman who, she put up a photograph with this image on it. She's saying, if people aren't shown something, they can't think about it. If they don't think about it, they can't do anything about it. So the more we show them, the more they're going to think. The more they think, then they're going to do something, just like we did. So I'm glad you got emotional, and I'm glad that I brought this out of you. And fantastic you've been doing it from March. And if I don't see you beforehand, let's hope I see you on the streets of Times Square in New York next July. Thank you very much.
Representing the animals.
Yeah, and that's it. And we are there as a voice for the animals who do have a voice. It's just we don't hear it, or we don't listen to their voices.
Thank you. See you in a bit.
So yeah, that's it. It's I don't know whether to continue doing this. Yes, here's one more person that I'm going to have a word with.
Hello.
Hello, please introduce yourself. Where are you from? And
I'm Erica from Leeds.
And have we met before, Erica?
Not really, kind of.
But we've seen each other, yeah. And what time did you get here this morning? Or today?
8.
So you've been here all day?
Yeah.
And why are you here?
Why am I here?
I mean, you're here, you're going to say pretty much the same as everyone else.
Exactly.
But go into that in a little bit more detail. Hi, Sarah.
Why am I?
Put it in your words.
In my words, I was vegetarian for like 15 years, and I thought that that was doing enough. And then I think it was the footage of the chicks on the conveyor belt that I saw. It was a talk by Earthling Ed, and I saw that, and then I was just like, I say I love animals, but I'm just not doing enough, because I was doing enough, and what I thought was, but it wasn't.
Hi, Craig.
So when I've been vegan for like a year and a half now, and because the message is so important, and I kind of wish that I'd been educated sooner. If someone had...
Isn't it ironic how many of us say that?
Exactly.
And when you think about what we're doing, that's what we're trying to do. We're trying to educate, especially young kids. We're literally trying to educate young kids into something that we wish we'd heard when we were their age.
Yeah. I've got vegan friends, and I was like, when I was vegetarian, I was asking them about it, but they didn't really talk to me about it. So I just think education definitely.
So would you say that those vegan friends that you had weren't really activists?
No, not at all.
So this leads on to the next question then. Do you think it's just good enough to be vegan, or do you think that we actually have to get out and be an activist?
Yeah, well, I think you have to get out and educate. Educate activists, it's a similar thing, but I think just, you can't go, well, I've learned this, I'm just going to keep that to me. It's difficult because some people, there's lots of anxiety and it's difficult. I've struggled, but we've got a great group, so...
I want to give you a hug, because when you're saying about the anxiety, I mean, there are people who know me where I do activism regularly, in London, etc., etc., know that I suffer severe anxiety problems, and they're totally amazed, because they say, but you're so confident when you're doing what you're doing, and you would never know. I said, yeah, because I'm not here for me. I'm like a lawyer. I'm in a courtroom, and I'm acting on behalf of the victims. And when I go away from the activism, all that anxiety, even when I'm doing this stuff, the anxiety's there.
Yeah, but you can kind of put it.
But I can put that away for that moment. For example, I was on Westminster Bridge for the closing when they shut down 5 bridges for the Extinction Rebellion on the first event, and I was doing a live feed, and suddenly I just had a huge anxiety panic attack while I was doing it. I was like, oh, and I just didn't know how to cope, and I was wandering around and round in a circle, etc., etc. So, and that's the point. We don't know when they're going to happen.
Yeah.
And so I understand your point, and I think this is another really important aspect that you brought up here, is that activism is a way in which we can overcome that anxiety. It's never going to go away, because what might be the causes of it? There are many reasons. And each individual has to deal with it in their own way. So yes, again, I can understand what you were trying to say, is that it can be difficult when we're talking about what activism is. And the way I look at activism is, you and I are being activists now.
Yeah.
It's engaging with someone else.
I just think some people do get put off because they see extreme activism, or well, not extreme. They see it that the word has got a bit jaded.
Yeah.
So I think to some people, if you'd say, "Will you be involved in education?" you might get some people, and then there'll be activists, and it's just.
I tend to study semantics. I read a really good book quite a few years ago. It was written in the late 1920s by a guy called Stuart Gray. No, not Stuart Gray. Stuart Chase. I think that's his name. The book's called The Tyranny of Words.
Yeah.
And it's really interesting to read it because it makes you wonder and consider the words that we use on a daily basis. Yeah. And one of the striking things that he mentions is we use words to describe words.
Yeah.
But they don't actually mean that.
Yeah.
You know, we call these animals that we're speaking up for cow, pig, dog, goat, turkey, chicken, whatever the animal is, but none of those animals know that that's what we perceive them as. Yeah, yeah. They just know themselves as themselves. And I think if we look at it from that perspective, it might help us become more effective as activists, because then we can get through to people that these are sentient beings who feel just like us. And it's irrelevant the body that we're in. We're all capable of feeling and experiencing the world around us, joy, pain, pleasure, fear, suffering. So surely if we think that we're an intelligent species and that we care, we should be looking to end all suffering, be it to our own species, but all the species that share the planet with us, or that we share the planet with.
I think as a Western society we've kind of got addicted to comfort, and we just kind of we're used to things and we don't like look further. So
look around us.
Yeah.
What do we see here?
Yeah.
All these lights, all of this advertising, trying to get us to buy more, to consume. I have it on a t-shirt underneath that actually says that an economy based on consumerism is not an economy at all. That it's unsustainable. There is no such thing as economic growth. So we have to start looking at multi-issues, and that we can actually go beyond what we have now to have better by using less. I think it's what Buckminster Fuller called ephemeralization. When we produce more by using less, it's actually using our resources in a far more effective, efficient way by not owning them, but having access to them when we need them. You look at the stuff that most of us own. We're not using it all of the time.
No.
So it's a waste of resources. So it's quite clear that you understand and you're aware of a lot more. And I think that the more that we talk to each other about these issues, we help others understand the animal exploitation issue is connected to the human exploitation issue, and that it's not separate. So that makes us more effective in our education, our activism, whatever we want to call it. So I'd like to thank you very much for taking the time and having really interesting conversation, because it's gone out live on Facebook, and hopefully people will share it. I have a friend who's watching it in the States. He's an advocate like me of what's known as a resource-based economy. It's proposed by the Venus Project in Florida, and he's just written this. It's an economic model best reflected by a particular life form. In medical terms, that would be called cancer.
yeah, the human race is more like a virus.
And we're not talking about the human race.
Well,
we're
yeah.
talking about the system under which we operate.
Consumerism.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The monetary system is a cancer, and we're in the cancer stage of capitalism. Mark, can you remember, if you're still watching, can you tell me, was it John McMurtry, Dr. John McMurtry, who wrote the book, the cancer stage of capitalism? Hopefully he's hearing this and he'll reply and confirm. But the title is something like that. Hi Anne. So, but this is the point. This technology is allowing people to share knowledge and help each other, educate each other by what we're having these conversations. And it wouldn't happen if we weren't talking.
No. Yeah, and this is why I think there's been such a significant rise in veganism. Like it's what they said 7% at the beginning of this year, which is amazing.
Yeah.
And I just think it's just going to skyrocket from now on. So.
What Mark's just written, he said, I believe it was McMurtry, checking. So, I mean, this is a friend in the States. Here I am. Who'd have thought 20 years ago I'd be talking to someone I've never met but shares similar values and is an advocate of something that I'm an advocate of. And I'm talking to him through this little gadget live. I'm on the streets of York and he's in the US, you know, and it's like, this is fantastic. So that's just the point. We have to be the media, we have to help each other, we have to support each other and share knowledge as we learn it and not be afraid to share this to people. Because I have this attitude, if we learn something and we don't educate others, we're failing them. As well as ourselves.
Education doesn't stop after you leave school.
No. Well, actually, education probably starts after you leave school because hi Sarah, because basically that education in school is programming us, preparing us to just be another cog in this particular system. Mark has just replied, gotta love technology. The internet is the tie that binds. And it is. It's for the people. Hi Sarah, I'm in York. Jason, I'm not a fucking legend, please. Oh, sorry, legend. Oh, that's what you just didn't put the gap in the word in between leg and end. But yes, it's exactly what you said, you know. We need to help each other, we need to support each other. So I know you're here to do outreach and help educate people. So once again, thank you for taking part of this. Get back on and do some more amazing outreach. Thank you. All right, guys, so I'm still on the streets of York. This really is wonderful. We're still here. We're going till 9 o'clock. You know, I hope the people in the cube can hear me. I'm not able to stand in a cube because of a back problem that I have. But everyone that is in the cube, I just want to say thank you. It's amazing that you've done this. Hold on. Because it is pretty cold, and to be stood here, you know, whether it's 10 minutes, an hour, or however long you've been stood in the cube, without it, we wouldn't attract these people so that we can have these conversations. So as you can see, someone is coming out now, having a break. And as I said, I just want to say thank you to everyone that's in the cube, whether you can hear me or not. I really appreciate it because it enables me to do what I am good at. So, and here she is, and I get it right this time. The Leeds organiser, Ash again. So I just want to read a comment that one of my friends has sent. Tallulah was gently bollocked at school for talking to a classmate who was wearing a fur collar about animals being skinned alive. So proud of her. The teacher told her it was only her belief. The teacher wants a kick in the fucking mouth. Hiya Keith, yeah, I'm going to tag you in this. You know, hiya Jane. I don't make any compromises about my language. I'm not an apologist. Yes, I get angry. I use that anger in a really positive way. And when I talk about teachers in that mode who take that thing, she is actually harming a child who is educated, more educated than the system that the teacher is advocating. So I really think it's important that we make kids like, and I've met Tallulah. I listened to her mum do an amazing emotional talk at the Wales Animal Rights March in July this year in Cardiff. Tallulah was with her, and they were just amazing. And you know, I can't remember her exact age. I think she's about 7 or 8. Sarah will put me right if she's still watching. And yeah, and as Sarah's just said, she was fucking fuming. But yeah, I think when you've got a child, we encourage children to stand up and speak out and be different. And then we've got fucking teachers trying to get them to conform. No wonder they grow up as adults who don't want to hear anything that's challenging the status quo. So, oh yeah, so yes, Tallulah, by the way, is 8 going on 35. Me, I'm the other way around. I'm 61 going on 2. And, but I feel exactly the way that it's right that we fume when we've got caring, compassionate kids. Yeah, Mark, I'm not in New York. I'm in York, England. So yeah, you're in Washington, and in just a fraction of a few seconds, I'm going to be able to read this message. The power of communication is in our hands. We should use it for the betterment of all, not just for a select few. I'm so glad you're watching this, Mark, and you're making these comments so that I can actually read them out to people who maybe aren't reading it. And people can stand here and they can listen to what I'm actually saying, you know, and it really is quite annoying when you get stupid people walking past making churlish comments like, bless them, as though we're doing this for our benefit. They have no comprehension of why we're doing this. This is not about us. Anyway, I want to get on and do a little bit more outreach. So thanks to everyone who's been tuned in. Yes, Mark, York, halfway across the world, not bad. And in a matter of seconds, you're hearing it and you're able to respond with a written comment. Who would have thought 20 years ago we would be doing this sort of thing? That we can have instant communication all around this planet. As you rightly said, we should be using this technology for the benefit of everyone, not a small handful of corrupt scum who are using it for their benefit only. So thanks everyone for tuning in, and I've got to go and do some more activism and outreach now to justify my being here. It is good that I've done such a long, lengthy live feed, because it's in a particular environment where the outreach is going really well. And I've just seen a young lady who's just smiled very invitingly. So I'm going to have the last word. She's going to introduce herself, tell me who she is, where she's from, how long she's been here. And that's my way of flirting with women online. What's your name? Where'd you come from? And have we met here before? And how long? And blah, blah, blah. So,
We've
met before, darling.
And we have. Come on, tell people who you are.
I'm Paula Regan. I'm from Leeds and I do a lot of activism in Yorkshire. Come down to London sometimes for whenever I possibly can between work and looking after kids and all the rest of it. The reason why I do it is because there is no other justice on this planet than putting the rights of the abused in place. Once you actually put the place of animals at the top of your priority, those that can't speak for themselves, they do actually speak, people don't understand them. We are understanding them, we are being their voice and we are understanding perfectly what they're saying. But the people choose to realise that they're not screaming and begging for mercy. We do. So therefore we're out here on a cold day for 12 hours, which is absolutely no problem. It's no problem to me whatsoever to come out here unpaid with the thousands of other people that are in the queue and other animal rights activists around the world right now. Because we know we're on the right side of everything. You can ignore the politicians, you ignore everything and everyone because they've been telling you wrong all your life. You get on board and you start taking justice within yourself, because it is within yourself, to actually take that forward. Every justice that's actually done towards animals and every freedom you can give them is every justice towards every human being. So don't think that we are here just because we are like cuddling bunnies, stroking hens, and we like talking to pigs on a farm. It isn't about that. I do actually like doing those things. But aside from all that...
Look, I'm a cuddly bunny. Will you give me a cuddle?
Yeah. I absolutely relate to animals so much because they relate to me, because they're cleverer than me, because I'm only a mere human. And humans do not have the answers to everything. Humans are the plague of the planet. Apart from those that actually start to realise that they've been obliterated, their brains have been obliterated by the lies they've been told. Get on the right side of the lies. Don't condemn yourself for what you've done in the past. Just get on board and start to see what's right. The justice and the politics that's within yourself to move forward and take this movement forward, which is so massive. And we're on a tsunami now and it's not going to stop.
It's interesting what you've said because this is a live feed that's going out right around the planet via Facebook. I have a friend who's an advocate, like I am, of a socio-economic system called resource-based economy. He's in Washington, in the States, and he's just written this. Final note before I go. When we disrupt the food chain via industrialization of animals, we induce a dramatic effect upon the localized environment. We should take note of that. And it was interesting what you were saying about the animals having a voice, because the AV logo is Voice for the Voiceless. But it's something that I actually say is that we know that animals do have a voice. And but we're not, most people are not listening, or they don't understand that voice. And this is one of the things that I found what you said, because everyone's been saying truths. As you were going through, they were writing truth. And it is, one thing that I have to say to you is, you are very humble. You actually humbled yourself, you put yourself down. You are obviously intelligent because you're out here doing what you do. Only an intelligent person would be out doing this. I have one final question before you. I don't know whether you know it, whether you were in Humpit before we came here. Did you hear that there's going to be a Cube of Truth in New York next year of 168 hours?
This afternoon, as I was doing that, I heard people talking about it. So obviously I was going to get on board with that. That wasn't going to pass me back.
So that's my question. Are we going to see you in Times Square next July?
Well, let's hope so. I've got something coming up which is like a really major surgery. So if it doesn't interfere with that, I'll be over there.
Whatever the surgery is.
Will be over there.
Okay, whatever the surgery is, yeah? I hope that that it goes well and that it won't prevent you from flying. If it's something, you know,
it's only a time limit. It's not the actual. If it's within the time limit of me being able to fly afterwards. That's
okay. Is it? I mean, I don't want you to go into it because obviously it's personal.
I'll go into it. I'll tell you right now.
Hopefully, it wouldn't be something that would prevent. That if it didn't happen before you flew, that it wouldn't be something that would prevent you flying.
No, it wouldn't prevent the flying, provided I got over the surgery.
Okay. All right. Thank you. Just leave it at that. Yeah. I really do want to thank you very much for taking the time and being the last person to speak on here, because you were very eloquent in what you said, and everything you said was such truth. Thank you very much. Thank you. So that is it, guys. I want to thank everyone for watching. Thank you, Lee. It's been really really good that you've been watching. I hope people are going to share the video because it shows, as Mark said, the power of communication, and if we use this technology, then we can use it for the benefit of all, human and other animals. So on that note, I'm going to say good night from me in York and all of the people that have been here all day, who are still here, because we are committed to actually bringing around change on this planet and justice for all of the other animals. Thank you very much. Good night. Bye-bye.
One person, one
burger from Iceland. I will make it that. I'll put it in a red one and everything. Put some more organic tomato sauce on, and I'll make it for you tonight. Do you think you said that you would try to stop me? Yeah, if I tried to split the world, you said that you would try to stop me if I tried to kill an animal right in front of you. Yeah. So what if I did it over there? Would it make a difference? Would it make it more? Yeah. So if I put a wall between you and me killing the animal, does that make it more? So now you've seen it.
It's not what most people
I've been friends with him for a long time.
It's all right, I'm just videoing here. We'll catch your words, but you're not on the screen. Okay, thank you. Because this is going out live, we want people to learn by, you know, when people like yourself say these sort of things, it shows that we are prepared to learn and change.
I've seen it all on YouTube, you know.
So I think, because you said that people don't see it, but I'm going to ask you then, if you've just seen it now then, so how do you, what do you say on your behalf? Because you said, and you're right, that people do not see it, that's why they keep doing it, but now you see it, so what do you say on your behalf?
Well, I think it's a good thing what you're doing. I just think, I mean, like I said, the problem you've got is trying to convince everybody. I know not everybody's going to agree with it. That's the only thing.
Can I actually say to you something that perhaps something that you're not aware of at the moment? Do you realise that the human species, by and large, we copy everything that everyone's doing, and we all copy it to bring around any social change? Whatever it was, whether it was slavery, or the abolition, whether it was women getting the vote, whether it was a civil rights movement, whatever it was, it has always taken a small handful of committed people.
I agree with that.
And that to bring around any social change, you need critical mass. Now, I was talking with a scientist a few weeks ago. I was on the Westminster Bridge. It was when they were closing down the 5 of the bridges for the Extinction Rebellion, and I was talking to her about critical mass, because that's what's required. And I said to her about it being 10%, and she said, no, it's not even 10% now, it's 3.4%. So once we get to a figure of 3.4% of a population that brings around a new consciousness, everyone else eventually will follow.
Bigger than you think anyway. There's a lot of people who are vegans anyway.
Yeah.
It's slowly happening.
So
you just need to keep it up. That's all I'm saying.
So that's the point, and that's what I'm saying. And this is obviously someone who you care about, who cares about you. So it's quite obvious that you're having this and you're listening to this sort of conversation, and people are hearing you. And so you're doing as much for bringing around change as any of the activists here, because you're actually stating it, and yet you're not actually a vegan yet.
Yeah, I appreciate that.
But you will get there because she's going to help you.
No bull burgers from Iceland. No bull burgers from Iceland.
Bull.
So you've got half the job done already, you know. When you
So there was me saying that I'm going to go, and then I catch over a really good conversation between an activist or an outreacher and some bystanders, and it's good that they have no problem in me filming them.
you know, it actually makes you feel better with yourself once you
It does. Like,
do that. And I don't think, like, can you think of any reasonable reason?
Any reasonable reason to eat animals? No, I can't.
To do
No, there's no reasonable reason to eat
you
animals.
love your dog.
So,
Do love my dog.
No, any. How about any? Is there any logical reason?
yeah, that sounds better actually. It's less redundant.
We're all animals as it is, aren't we?
Yeah. And actually, when you consider that out of all of the animal species on the planet, there are actually very few who are anatomically designed to eat animals. The most of the animals on the planet all eat plants.
Yeah, that's true.
So everything that they need to be healthy, and many of them, when you look at those animals, they're elephants, they're giraffes, they're horses, they're cows, they're they're hippopotamus. They're much bigger than we are. So where do they get all of their nutrients? Yeah, they are herbivores.
They're quite fat.
Well, it's not that they're fat, they are muscular, they are big.
Can I ask you one question as a dog lover? My dog.
How do you know I'm a dog lover? Oh, you're the dog lover.
Yeah, like my dog, right, is a chow chow, who's a stocky fella, right?
Okay.
So basically I went into Tesco and I thought, do you know what, I'm a vegan. I'm gonna give my dog a vegan diet. So I went all the way down the aisle, nothing. All of it is chicken beef. What do I do?
Okay, do you use Facebook?
Yes.
Look for vegan dog lovers, dog lovers, vegans, or whatever. You will find groups that will help you feed your dog a plant-based diet.
There's no like big brand that does vegetables.
I'm just trying. Can anyone?
I've just put Loki on a vegan diet from today. It's called Benevo. I'll send
Yeah,
you
that's
the
it.
website. You've got to order it offline though, you can't get it.
How much is like?
It was
So say if you got like a pack of I get
They're in big bags.
I went to Asda, everything was chicken or liver.
I don't have any plant-based ones in the shop.
No.
I said, you know what? I said to Paul, you know what? I'm going to give Yoshi a vegetarian diet. This woman was like that to me. You know what I mean? If I want to give my dog a vegetarian diet, I will. Because you know what?
Like us, so they can do it. It's fine.
But you see, this is what I.
You know what?
This is what I find quite interesting, is the fact that by having this conversation, this young lady talks about her dog, vegan diet, and then someone here who's just put her dog on a vegan diet. This is the power of education. People having conversation, asking questions, learning, and then someone having an answer. So please don't underestimate your power as an activist. Learn more, help people learn more, share that knowledge. The more that we do this, the quicker we will bring around the changes that most of us want to see. It is up to us. Hi, Melanie. And that is it. That finally is it. I actually want to close off now. So thank you very much, as I said, to everyone who's watched in. If anyone is still watching, please share the video so that it goes to people around the planet. You know, you never know who else is going to see it, what they might learn from it, the comments that people have made, you know, whether it's on, you know, whether verbal, through the actual video, or what people have written as they're listening, you know. And many people, especially Mark in Washington, was writing a lot of comments. So please share all of this. Thank you very much. Good night.